and welcome back to another much anticipated episode of Debate Gate Sports. It's been some time. We've had to get situated with school, so it's been a few weeks, but we are back. We're happy to bring some NFL news to you. We'll be going over today, we're going to be going over the NFL MidSeason Awards as we just wrapped up week 9. So today, Josh and I are going to be talking about who our MVP, Offensive Player of the Year, Defensive Player of the Year, Offensive Rookie of the Year, Defensive Rookie of the Year, Coach of the Year, and Comeback Player of the Years are. So, without further ado, let's get right into it. Starting off with the MVP. This one should be a pretty obvious one if you've been following the NFL in 2020. Without a doubt, Russell Wilson. He's leading the NFL in every major statistical category: quarterback rating, touchdowns. He's only second in completion behind Drew Brees, but Drew Brees only throws the ball like 5 yards downfield. Also, he's led his team to a 6-2 record. The 2 losses were tight games, and his defense has been one of the worst in the league. So Russell Wilson, he's been unbelievable. He should definitely be the MVP.
For sure. I mean, if you don't have Russell Wilson as your MVP, you can't consider yourself a football fan. You can't say that you've watched football in your life. I don't care if you're a Packers fan or a Chiefs fan. Those are the other two in the conversation would be Mahomes and Rodgers, but it's obviously Wilson. It's turned less into, he's on historic pace for the touchdown record against Peyton Manning's 2012 season, and he's going for all these records. It's turned more into, statistically, the Seahawks defense is the worst of all time statistically. So he's carrying this team to a 6-2 record, and had the 2 games, he brought them back into contention. This one last week against the Bills, yesterday, in fact, was way out of reach, but he brought them back to within 10 points. So that's what Russell Wilson does. And next, we have the Offensive Player of the Year. And Gavin, who is yours?
So my Offensive Player of the Year is actually going to be Dalvin Cook from the Minnesota Vikings. So he's been pretty good statistically. 652 yards on the ground, average of 5.3. He's got 10 touchdowns. He's also been really active in the receiving game, which has been nice to see from him, a big step up, a touchdown, and averaging 9.1 yards per catch, as well as he doesn't really fumble the ball only once this year. And he is, the past couple of weeks especially, he's just been the best running back in football, arguably. But he has really just carried this Vikings team that has really struggled. And some of his production gets held back just because the Vikings passing game is so bad, and Kirk Cousins has been so bad this year that when they can't really throw the ball that good, that defenses can just plan around Dalvin. And so, nonetheless, he's still been having multi-touchdown, 200-yard games, especially over these last few weeks. So seeing what he's been able to do, it's been really nice to see. So I think he is the Offensive Player of the Year.
I could for sure see that, just because he's been on such an incredible pace. But if he continues on this pace, I'll give it to him. But right now, since it's the middle of the season, we're judging everything and not just the past 2 weeks. Not a shot at you, Gavin, just saying. I have to give it to Kamara. The fact that he's top 6, I think it is, in receiving yards total, and that he's still top 5 in rushing yards is insane. He's just been so dynamic in every way possible. He's just incredible. He's the best player offensively, which is why I'm giving him the award. He's just able to beat you in every manner. He's like a discount Marshall Faulk, who's one of the greatest running backs of all time, and that allows him to win the award today. Now, next we have, for me at least, the Defensive Player of the Year. This one's very close between 2 players, Aaron Donald and Myles Garrett. Now, Aaron Donald and Myles Garrett are the top 2 players who lead the league in sacks. They're number 1 and number 2, and Garrett, leads the league in pressures. Aaron Donald's right behind him or whatever. It's very close between the two. They're neck and neck for everything. But I'm gonna have to give it to Donald just because Donald actually leads him in pressures by 5, as well as Donald and Garrett are tied with sacks. Garrett has one more forced fumble, but Donald is so much better in the run game than Garrett. Garrett isn't bad, of course, but he's mainly just a pass rusher, and Donald is one of the better run defenders in the NFL right now, and he just garnered so much attention. So the fact that he's getting nearly double teamed or chipped by the tight end or a running back coming in every single play, yet he still puts up these numbers, it's pretty obviously him. But Garrett is close. And then, of course, you have Khalil Mack there, and I think Budda Baker's been the best defensive back, so he's also in the conversation. But right now it goes to Donald. What about you, Gavin?
Yeah, I would 100% agree with that. Aaron Donald has just been on next level this year. He's just been, I would say, Garrett just really excels in like one area, and that's like sacks and pressuring the quarterback. But Donald, as a D tackle, has the same amount of sacks and even more pressures while he's being like even triple teamed. We saw against the Bears, he was triple teamed, and he was still like getting to the quarterback every other snap. And just the way that he, not just in the pass, but the way that he can stop the run as well. Just a big body in the middle of that D line. He can just hurt the offense in just so many different ways, whereas Garrett's a little bit more not as multidimensional as Donald, but both are great players. But I think Donald has the edge this season as of right now. So with that, moving on to the offensive rookie of the year, that is going to be Justin Herbert, 6th overall pick out of Oregon. So next up, we have our offensive rookie of the year, and for me, it is going to be the 6th pick out of Oregon, Justin Herbert, the Chargers' next future QB if all goes right. And a lot of people would say they would have Burrow over Herbert, which to me I just don't really see. Like they're very similar in a lot of ways. Joe Burrow is a terrific rookie quarterback, but he has Herbert has a higher completion percentage, more yards per attempt, more yards per game, more touchdowns, and a higher QBR. I know some people like to argue that Joe Burrow has less talent around him and that he has a better record, which is definitely true. But I feel like the Chargers could definitely have a better record. And I think they've lost like 3 or 4 games where it was just like last second plays or like blowing big leads or something like that. Not Herbert's fault at all. I think the Chargers could easily have a much better record than what they have right now. So the Chargers' struggles are not on Herbert. I think he would be the offensive rookie of the year if the season ended today.
Yeah, I agree with you. I would just like to touch on what you said. Actually, the past 3 games have all been on last second plays. Last game, yesterday against the Raiders, it was a called back because the tight end bobbled it, and that would have won them the game. Then it was Drew Lock leading the Broncos down last second to win,
and that was after a pass interference called.
What?
They got called with a pass interference with 2 seconds left, which set them up for the game-winning play, and they blew a 20-point lead that game.
Yeah, I mean, I'm gonna be honest. I can't really watch Broncos football or Chargers football just because I have stuff to do, and the Bears are on locally, and I'm not gonna pay for one of those inter or national packages where I get to choose what game to watch. But anyways, and then the week before that was a last-second overtime field goal by the Saints, or maybe it wasn't in overtime. I don't remember, but it was. The past 3 games have all been last-second losses, which are more on Anthony Lynn and the defense, the coach, rather than Herbert himself. And then I would actually argue that Burrow has better talent around him versus Herbert, because Burrow has AJ Green, who, yes, after the injuries is not very good, but he hasn't been really thrown a ton of catchable balls. I was looking at his catchable ball percentage the other day. Not great. And Burrow's kind of been forcing him the ball. Then you have Boyd and Higgins. So those are 3 very good wide receivers, in my opinion. And Mixon and Bernard are really good running backs. I feel like Bernard's a bit underrated. He isn't used a lot in this offense, but he's very underrated. The only real issue on the offense there is the offensive line, which of course is the motor of everything. It's bottom 5, arguably bottom 3 in the league. So It just depends on what order you have them. Personally, I have the Bears as last, and then followed by the Bengals. But besides the point is that yes, Herbert is easily offensive rookie of the year.
One more thing before we move on. I just want to say I feel like Herbert has been much more consistent, but then Burrow, I feel like there are some games Burrow threw 3 touchdowns, and then there are some games like the one against the Ravens where he had like barely 200 yards and like 3 turnovers. So it's like the consistency from Herbert is nice to see, especially for a franchise quarterback.
Yeah, and which is surprising because just a little side tangent is that in college, not very consistent, very inconsistent. So it's interesting to see that. But next we have defensive rookie of the year. I have personally Anton Winfield Jr. Just because he's a little bit more versatile than my runner-up, Jalen Johnson, the cornerback for the Bears, because Winfield is able to be used both in the run game and in the pass game. He provides a lot of value where, Johnson has been amazing for a rookie corner. What Jeff Okudah was supposed to be has been amazing. I think that that lack of versatility is what brings him down a little bit just below Winfield, and that's coming from a Bears fan. So what about you?
Yeah, I would actually have Jalen Johnson above Antoine Winfield just because the expectations for Johnson were like so much lower. And what he's been able to do has been so impressive, a 47% or 47.7% completion percentage. Not as active as Winfield in like the run and getting tackles, but 10 pass breakups for Jalen Johnson as well, and not a lot of yards per target. The one issue is that he does tend to get burned a lot sometimes. So while he doesn't allow a lot of completions, the completions that he gives up tend to be like longer ones, so he may get burned on deeper plays. However, I just feel like he has very like limited flaws, and for where he was picked and what he was expected to do, he's exceeded those expectations by a ton. So I would have Jalen Johnson over him, Antoine Winfield.
Makes sense. I'm not going to argue that hard with you. Next, we have Comeback Player of the Year. Now, this may change over time, but right now, I think, for me at least, I have to give it to Alex Smith because the fact that he was so close to death,
Mm-hmm.
and then now he's able to just be top, like, be, what's it called? Be hurdled basically and have Aaron Donald of all people just resting on his back and just be charged by Aaron Donald. Now with the Kyle Allen injury, he'll probably be the starter if not Haskins put in. So we'll see how he does for the rest of the season. If he does fine to good, then obviously it will be him for me. But then if he does really bad, then I think I'm gonna have to put my runner up, and that's Roethlisberger, just because he's been very good, but he's also surrounded by the most talented roster in the NFL, I would say.
Yeah. Can I just give a quick shout out to the Redskins offensive line for the first game that Alex Smith comes into the NFL? First game back from a near-death leg injury, they give up 6 sacks to him.
Amazing, absolutely amazing. And on like the third play, let Aaron Donald just smother him.
Exactly. Like, oh yeah, welcome back. We'll keep you healthy. Nope, 6 sacks. Thanks, guys. Anyways, on to my comeback player of the year. For me, it's someone that's not as big of a comeback, but somebody that's been extremely productive in a new system, and that's Todd Gurley, lead leader in rushing touchdowns. Sorry.
I completely forgot that he was like bad/injured last year.
Yeah, he had, I believe, like arthritis in his knee. I could be wrong on that. There was something in his knee that really kind of like caused him to step down with the Rams offense. And so then eventually they dumped him to Atlanta, where he's been extremely good. Record, not so much. And he even has had an accidental touchdown. Nonetheless, over almost 6,000 yards rushing, decent average, and 4.2. And, oh, I'm sorry. I badly messed that up. I was looking
I
at
was about to
your
say
toes.
6,000 yards. I've never seen that before.
Yeah, he has 531 yards on the ground, an average of not great average of 3.8. Still 8 touchdowns as well. He's been pretty good in the receiving game. Only 13 receptions, but the fact that he's come back from where he is this year, not a whole lot of candidates for comeback player of the year. It's not as stacked as it was in previous years. I still think Todd Gurley deserves it.
Yeah, I would have said Cam Newton preseason.
You'd think.
But he's just I with COVID. I like to think because I like him because he went to Auburn and I'm a fan of Auburn. I like to think it's just like long-term effects of COVID, which I feel so bad for him for if it's the reason why he's playing like the worst quarterback in the NFL. But let's hope it's not. But moving on, what do we have next? Coach of the year. So Gavin, who is your coach of the year?
So my coach of the year would be a former Bill Belichick disciple in Brian Flores, second year head coach for the Dolphins. And I'll give you guys a minute if you can name 5 good players on the Dolphins.
Xavier Howard, Tua Tagovailoa, Devontae Parker, Byron Jones, and Christian Wilkins.
Yeah, good. Pretty good. Pretty good. Yeah, those are like their best players. And I'm guaranteed you can see nobody after that. Nonetheless, the Dolphins, they are 5-3. They've beaten really good teams, as in the Cardinals, the Rams. And so what Brian Flores has done in Miami has just been very, very good. He's taken like a modified version of Bill Belichick's scheme and turned it into one of his own, and it's fitted great with the roster that he's had. We've seen Tua, even though it's his second game, he's played really well. We've also seen Jordan Howard start to come back after his stint with the Bears, as well as Byron Jones is playing very well at corner. So I think what Brian Flores has been able to do with the talent that he has definitely makes him coach of the year.
For sure, for sure. Like I did name the 5 players, but you're right. There's not much after that. You don't really have any notable offensive linemen. That's probably your major issue. And then linebackers, no one. Safeties, absolute nobody. But you have 2 of the best cornerbacks in football, in Howard and Jones, which help. But I feel like Flores is doing a great job. Because like he's, like you said, taking Bill Belichick's thing but making his own. That's the issue with all the other disciples of him. Cough, cough. Patricia, cough, cough.
I knew there was going to be a shot.
Exactly replicate what he does, but you can't because you're not him. But Flores knows that, so he's making his own, which is very good, and he's definitely in contention. But for me, it has to be Vrabel. It's close. I'm not saying it's clear. It is not clear by any means. I say there's 4 people here. You have Vrabel, Flores, Tomlin, and McDermott. I don't say it's McDermott or Tomlin because I think they have the two most talented rosters in the NFL up there at least. And then Flores has obviously done a lot with little, but I feel like Vrabel has done more with less. He's brought them to 6-2. Great team. That defense has been really bad the past few weeks. It was really good leading up to that. I don't know what happened, but he's been scheming it to help itself, except for, of course, against the Bears. But the Bears are the worst offense I've ever seen. Like, for example, they lost Jack Conklin this year. I don't remember where he went, but he was a top 3 tackle in the NFL, and they lost him, yet they kept their offensive running game production, and they've done amazing. And, they've done better after losing a lot of players. They didn't really gain much talent. They lost a lot of players, and they're doing better this year. So I think I would have to give it to Vrabel. But that is it. That is it. That is the end of the show. Thank you for listening. We are once again sorry for it taking so long. Please, if you liked it, if you have any critiques or anything,
know in the comments below.
Down below. Thank you for listening, and goodbye.